Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Phoenix Real Estate Connect. I am Victor Huerta, local real estate agent here in Phoenix, Arizona. And on today's show, I am going to get into why I made the move to Phoenix, Arizona from Las Cruces, New Mexico. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a lot of tips on why I moved, what was the reason why leaving a small town, coming to Phoenix, Arizona, what to do, when not to move, all that good stuff on this video. So with that being said, let's get right into this video right now.
This is where they go for the real estate info. I'm here to lead and help you succeed. One thing that you'll learn about me is I'm on a mission to get the knowledge to the world when making decisions and buying and selling real estate.
Victor Huerta.
Remember my name.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have not done so, click that subscribe button and that bell to get notified once I drop the latest video. I mean, I am just bringing everything about Phoenix, Arizona, the Phoenix real estate market, first-time home buyer tips, and home seller tips as well. So with that being said, let's just get in right into this video. I'm going to give you my opinion of moving from a small town, Las Cruces, New Mexico, to Phoenix, Arizona, and how it kind of was a little difficult at first, especially when I got to Phoenix, Arizona. So with that being said, let's just get into some stats and some data and just give you my overall feedback when moving to Phoenix, Arizona. All right, so the first thing I have to tell you is that coming from a small town with only probably about 102,000 people in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is a small town, and then coming to Phoenix, Arizona, which is now me, because I came from a small town where almost everybody knew everybody, and then moving over here to a Phoenix, Arizona, which is a pretty big state, almost 7 to 8 million people, I was like, wow, this is like a big city. And the first thing I noticed is that when I was actually moving, I saw like the difference in lifestyle, right? So me driving up in my B2200 Mazda coming up to Phoenix, I was just excited to be in a big city. But coming in with the U-Haul and all my stuff in back of my truck, once I got to Chandler, Arizona, I was seeing like Mercedes, BMWs, nice Escalades, Yukon. So that was kind of like a culture shock to me coming straight out of college, moving to Phoenix, Arizona, before real estate. And I was just like, wow, am I in the right place? Because back home in Las Cruces, New Mexico, it's more, you could say, as trucks, right? Everybody has like the Chevy or the Ford truck. We do a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. We're more outdoors. And here in the city, you can still do that, but more in the city, you see a lot of more. You could say materialistic stuff, right? I wouldn't say materialistic, but more like a better vehicles. And we're talking about Lexuses, BMWs, Yukons, Jaguars, all these top name brands. And that was kind of like a culture shock for me at first, because me riding in my little B2200 Mazda, which I thought was the bomb back in the day in Las Cruces, New Mexico, coming over here, it was a little different, a little different. So the moral of the story is, if you're coming from a small town, you might get a little culture shock, and you might get used to it a little bit. But if you're coming from a big city to a big city, or a big city to a decent sized city like Phoenix, then you'll be okay with it. But if you're coming from a very, very small town, you might feel that culture shock, and you might feel a little homesick. As I was going back home like every other weekend, just to spend time with the family, doing stuff with friends over there. And the culture shock was a little different, right? And you could tell that people were just a little bit more, I could say, lifestyle educated than I was, coming from a small town, especially when I started working at one of the major corporations, which was Intel Corporation back in the day. So that was like a major culture shock. So if you're coming from a small town to Phoenix, Arizona, I think you'll have a huge culture shock here in the mindset first. And then second of all, is you might be a little homesick as well. All right, so tip number 2, do not move here during the summer. I moved over here to Phoenix, Arizona from Las Cruces in the summer months, and it was like mid-May to June. And what I noticed is that it was hot, and I mean super, super hot. So when you're moving your stuff into either your home or an apartment, I mean, do not move here in the summer. Try not to move in the summer, because I came from like an 86-degree weather to like one of the hottest summers ever, which was like 115. And I noticed is that some of my family were like, why do you want to move to hell? That was pretty much what they said. So tip number two is if you're moving to Phoenix, Arizona, try not to move at all during the summer because it is very difficult. And I tell you, it is exhausting moving in the summer, especially with the brutal heat that we just had this past year in 2020. If you go look at the weather temperatures, we had the most horrific summers ever. So if you're moving to Arizona from a different state, I highly advise you. Try not to move in the summer. And if you're relocating and you got a job opportunity over here, you need to tell them, like, hey, I'm either moving during the wintertime or during the springtime, but I am not moving during the summer. And if you have to move during the summer, I highly suggest you hire some movers to move all your stuff in because I'm telling you, it is brutal. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into tip number three is the reason why I moved from Las Cruces, New Mexico to Phoenix, Arizona. All about moving about Phoenix, Arizona was the job opportunities. I got out of school at Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I hate to say this, but Las Cruces, New Mexico is right close to the border of Juarez, Mexico, right? So you have Las Cruces, you have El Paso, Texas, then the borderline is right here. Then up north, you have Albuquerque. When unfortunately is when you get out of when I got out of school there, I didn't have too many job opportunities, right? Over there in New Mexico, you really have only like White Sands, Missile Range. You'd be able to work for like the city of Las Cruces. There's a couple other technology companies, but coming with the electronics technology degree and trying to get a job there, even in telecommunications, they all wanted to hire me just above minimum wage. And when you're going to school and you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to school to better myself and get a better education and a better job, well, the income and salary of in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I'm talking about Las Cruces, not New Mexico in general, because you do if you go to Albuquerque, there is Intel over there. There's other companies over there as well. But to try to get a really good job straight out of college from in Las Cruces in that town to stay there, it is very, very difficult. It is more of who you know, not what you know. And every spot that you're applying for, you have to have the insider I guess you could say friendship to get into that specific job, especially if it's like for the NMSU, if it's for the city of Las Cruces, if it's in White Sands, you have to know somebody inside. And you got to think about how many people have been waiting for a job opportunity to open up to actually get into that position to make that money as far as income. So that was one of the big reasons why I left New Mexico to come to Phoenix, Arizona, because I applied at Intel Corporation and I drove to Albuquerque for the interview and got a outstanding position here at Intel in Chandler, Arizona. And when I got my first paycheck, I literally had to just look at it, not once, twice, but three times. And I actually asked one of my coworkers, like, is this like for the week or for the month? And coming from a small town mentality and being my first professional job, she kind of laughed. She goes, that's for the 2 weeks, and you're going to get another one as well. So the income opportunity, I was like, oh my gosh, like I had never seen so much money. So that is another reason why I left Las Cruces, New Mexico, because I can actually increase my income here in Arizona. There's a lot more job opportunities, a lot more companies, and you can actually get training. And in New Mexico, it was very difficult to find somebody to mentor you, take you under your belt, and tell you exactly where you know where you should go. And of course, I'm talking about this when I'm 22 years old. I am now 45, so I've learned a lot from coming from a small town to Phoenix, Arizona. But that was another tip: is just employment opportunities are just great here in Phoenix, Arizona, and now we have all of California businesses moving here as well, and everybody's just getting flooded in Phoenix, Arizona, as far as businesses and opportunities for you to increase and scale your income, learn more, and grow within yourself, within a company or with other companies. Okay, another tip is that back home, like I told you this before, is we do a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, a lot of hiking, a lot of outdoor stuff. Well, in Arizona, you got that as well. You just got to drive like 2 to 3 hours and you could do the same thing. You could do some fishing, you could do some hunting, you could do some camping, especially in the summer months. When it gets too hot, it's unbearable here in Phoenix. So we head up north to like, we go up to like Flagstaff, we go to Sedona, we go to Payson, We just go outdoors, and you're able to do that here in Phoenix, Arizona. Is just pack up and leave for the weekend and come back and be able to come back to work. So that's kind of the good thing about living in Arizona is you're still able to get all that outdoor activity, just like I did in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where I used to go to Elephant View Lake. I used to go hiking. I used to go camping, used to go hunting, be able to go shooting, all that stuff. You could do that here as well. There's gun ranges, but when you go outdoors, I mean, it's really, really nice. And in the summertime, the temperature difference is like 10 degrees. And believe me, you might think like 10 degrees is not a lot. 10 degrees is a lot, especially in the summer months. Right. One thing you'll notice is like from Las Cruces, New Mexico, housing is actually pretty affordable, but it's actually gotten very expensive. And when you come over here to Phoenix, Arizona, I'm talking about from New Mexico, Las Cruces, New Mexico to Phoenix, Arizona, is I kind of saw during the years when staying in Phoenix, Arizona, is prices didn't really change. You could buy almost the same amount of house in Las Cruces than Phoenix. And I always wondered, how are people affording these homes in Las Cruces when there's not that many job opportunities? And over here in Phoenix is almost the same price, maybe a little bit higher, is you have a lot more job opportunities and being able to raise your income in Phoenix. Well, it came down to years of service. And I could see that you can actually move a lot farther up in the income bracket in Phoenix quickly in a shorter amount of time frame than Las Cruces. So as prices rose in real estate, your income rises just like this. And I could see that Phoenix had more opportunity for me to increase my income with more job growth, training, and other opportunities in corporations and different companies, while you're stagnant in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And it's not to be mean, but it's almost a poverty state where your income slowly grows with you as you age. So the time it took me 10 years to increase my income here in Phoenix, it probably would have took me 20 years or at least 15 in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So the cost of living is definitely a little bit cheaper in Las Cruces, New Mexico, but real estate is some pretty much high over there as well. So that's kind of like the difference of why I actually moved from Las Cruces to Phoenix, is because I wanted to grow my income faster and grow my lifestyle faster than waiting so long to grow in Las Cruces. All right, another tip about moving from Las Cruces to Phoenix, Arizona, moving to Phoenix, Arizona, is the culture change. You meet a lot of people, right? It's very diverse. You got people from all over the world here. In New Mexico and Las Cruces, you just literally have people who were born, raised, and stayed there. You do have a lot of people that retire there, and Las Cruces is a big retirement town. Then people come to retire because they just like the slow paced lifestyle. But in Phoenix, Arizona, you have people from like Chicago, from Portland, Oregon, from Wisconsin, from Idaho, from New York City, and it's very diverse. And I'm talking about all cultures around the entire world are here in Phoenix. So you get to meet a lot of different people. You get to hang out with a lot of different people with a lot of different mindsets, and you get to learn a lot more. So you're not in a pigeonhole, kind of like I would say like Las Cruces was, is there was like one mindset, you do this the certain way, etc. But over here, it opens your mindset, especially from your small town. Like, hey, why don't you think about it this way? And I noticed that I got very business savvy being in Phoenix, Arizona, which probably wouldn't have happened in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And that's just because you talk to a lot more people from a lot more different places. Now, a word of caution if you're moving from a small town like I am to moving to Phoenix, Arizona, is you've got to be alert around your surroundings. Now, I kind of come from a bad area in Las Cruces, right? So I kind of know the street language when I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, but I could tell is like they can actually know, these people can know if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, they will try to hustle you. Right. So if you don't know the street lingo, if you don't know the lingo, the street lingo, or if you don't know if you're being out hustled or whatever, you got to be very alert because there's some smart hustlers here in Phoenix, Arizona that will just try to take your money. And now I'm talking about if you're in your gas station, right? They try to talk to you, they try to hustle you. You got to be very, very alert. Number one. Number two is when you're hiring contractors, like to do any kind of work at your house. If you move here and you bought a home, is you got to be very alert of what contractors to use as far as like building a pool, painting your house, doing your landscaping, doing a remodel, because there is a lot of hustlers here. You got to think about it. Arizona is like almost 9 million people now. And there is a lot of contractors, a lot of opportunity for people to make money. But unfortunately, I read a lot of forums that a lot of contractors just take the money and they never complete the job. So, one thing about moving from a small town to a big city is be careful on who you hire and make sure you don't give the total all the money up front. What you want to do it is you want to do it in draws. Like, okay, you're going to start the job. I'll give you one draw, right? Then we'll give you two, then three, and then four. So you got to kind of break it up and don't give a contractor a lot of money up front because they'll never show up and finish the job. So one thing is just make sure when you move here, if you're from a small town, is be careful, kind of know the language and lingual, and be alert that you're not getting hustled. All right. Another tip is back home in New Mexico in Las Cruces, I used to be able to just call my friends or text them and be like, "Hey, I'll be at your house in 10 minutes. Let's go do something." Well, over here in Phoenix, Arizona, is when you when you move here, you can't do that. That's not the same opportunity where you could just text one of your buddies or a friend or one a married couple and be like, "Hey, we're gonna get together. We're gonna go over there." That is not how it works because people live all over across the cities in Phoenix, Arizona. You can't really get to somewhere in like 10 minutes unless it's like right out your door. So if you're meeting friends for dinner or a drink or some wine or just to hang out, you literally have to plan this like a day in advance and be like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow at this time? Do you want to meet at a restaurant?" Because you can't just pick up the phone and like, "Hey, I'm going to pick you up in 10 minutes. Let's go fishing or let's go four-wheel driving or let's go hiking, etc." That is not going to happen here in Phoenix, Arizona. You have to make plans because the traffic, it's almost, I mean, we're a commuter state here in Arizona, right? We don't have a lot of the back roads like back home in New Mexico, and we can't get somewhere in like 10 minutes. So here is taking it, we're a commuter state, depending on what side of the city you're going from. Just for example, as I live in Phoenix, Arizona, if some of my friends live in Gilbert, it's going to take me like 30 minutes to get over there to their house. So what we do is we plan to meet in a central location, which could be like Tempe or Chandler. So if you're thinking you're just going to call one of your buddies here that you met and be like, "Hey, I'm going to go to your house in 10 minutes. Let's go do something." That is not going to happen. So you definitely have to plan this out during the week, during the weekend. So just for those people who are coming from a small town to a big city, that is pretty much how it is. Traffic is a commuter state. It's going to take you about roughly between 20 to 40 minutes, depending on where you're going, to get to your final destination. Moving to Phoenix, Arizona was a great decision for me. Coming from a small town, I didn't see any opportunity for me to advance myself in my life, in my career in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Now, this is not like putting Las Cruces down. I love my town. I love to go back. I love to hang out there. But to live there is totally different. It just wasn't for me, especially graduating college and coming out of college and not being able to find a job. Because you got to think about it. When you come out of college with some student debt and you're barely going to earn some money, you can't even pay that student debt back. So moving to Phoenix actually increased not only my mindset, it opened up me to learning about other cultures, meeting new people, and advancing myself for me and my family. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is more of a video of me moving from a small town to a big city. And if you're coming from a small town, I hope these tips, kind of help you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my personal experience of moving from like a small town to a big city. Now, there's no knock in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I love it. I love to go back. I love the people. I love hanging out there. But to live there was a little hard for me coming out of school and just seeing the opportunity that a big city has compared to a small state. It was just a no-brainer for me to come out here. So with that being said, if you have not done so, click the subscribe button and that like button to get notified once I drop the latest video. I mean, I'm just bringing you some topics all about Phoenix, Arizona, first-time home buyer tips, home seller tips, the Phoenix real estate market, so you can be mindful when you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in some real estate. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next video. If you have any questions, email me at victor@freeagentproperties.com. Again, that email address is victor@freeagentproperties.com, where we release new videos each week on home buyer tips, home seller tips, the Phoenix housing market update, so you can be mindful when you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate. We will talk to you soon.